Hello, I'm Josh Paulison, and this is Inspector Josh Investigates TV, where we reverse engineer TV shows to draw story writing lessons from them. Today we're going to look at Assassination Classroom, Season 1, Episode 13, titled Talent Time. Warning, spoilers for this episode are ahead. Today our lesson is what I call the "we were wrong" structure. You see it a lot in sitcoms. Here's why it's helpful. It's a simple way to make a story quickly, and it's also a story structure that helps your characters be thankful for what they have. You simply replace the thing that they take for granted with something else using the structure. And then they realize, hey, you know what? We were wrong about what we really want. Or we really like the old thing better. So this is a really good way to either rapidly develop a story or your characters, especially to develop thankfulness. Here's how it works. First, we have step number 1. We want better than A. Step number 2. Replace A with B. Step number 3. A is better. Step number 4. Replace B with A. Here's how it's demonstrated in this episode. So the students question Mr. Karasuma's motives. Does he really care about his students? And then, and I'm worried I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but we'll go for it anyway. Mr. Takoka replaces Mr. Karasuma. And they're like, yay, he seems pretty cool. But then he turns out to be abusive. We're on step 3 now, physically beating students and threatening them, and also emotionally abusing them. And the students realize, no big surprise, that they prefer Mr. Karasuma. And then step number 4, the students oust Mr. Takoka and get Mr. Karasuma back as their PE teacher. So again, the structure is, we want better than A, then replace A with B, in this place replacing Mr. Karasuma with Mr. Takoka. Step 3 is A is better. They realize, hey, Mr. Karasuma is way better than Mr. Takoka. And then 4 was replace B with A, which is again, then we go back to the original instructor in this episode of Assassination Classroom. So here's how you can apply this in your own stories. Figure out something that is good in your characters' lives that they either don't want, don't think they need, or take for granted. Replace it with B. But make B look really good first. Then expose how awful B is so that characters realize A is better and get rid of B. Now I do want to kind of add a caveat here. We're kind of talking about, oh, well, A is good, B is bad, but for the structure, it doesn't really have to be that way. It can just be based on character preference instead. A character could be used to A, and they like A, and they're comfortable, but they are getting sick of something about A. And so they are like, hey, I want B. And so then they get B, and they hate B because they're more comfortable with A. They just focus on one aspect of B. But you could have, depending on what you're switching up, maybe there's a character who would actually hate A but love B. This isn't necessarily about what's good or bad, though it can be. It can just be about a character's preferences even, where they're like, hey, you know what, I'm just thankful for what I had now. I realize that I'm just more used to that, and that's more my life. So here's an example of us taking this and making a story really rapidly. So maybe Susie hates her job and she wants her boss's job. So we can run her through the structure. 1, Susie wants better than her job. Okay? So 2, Susie gets her boss's job. Aha, yes, she has it. But 3, Susie realizes her old job is better. It's more relaxed, she doesn't have to manage people. She thought she'd get away from people, but she's more into working with them than ever before, and she hates it. And then so we go back, number 4, she gets her old job back, and maybe even helps her boss get their old job back. Here's another example. Maybe Sam, around age 12, more of a young kid, wants to have 5 little siblings. That's not a bad thing to want, but if Sam's not ready for it, it may be. So number 1, Sam wants to have 5 little siblings instead of being an only child. Number 2, Sam helps look after his little cousins, aged between 2 and 10. And maybe he's even thinking, wow, there are 7 of them, this is even better! And number 3, Sam realizes he doesn't actually want to have 5 little siblings. He doesn't like sharing space, having them around all the time. He just wanted to feel like he was in charge. He didn't actually want responsibility. And so then we go to number 4. Okay. The babysitting time ends. He doesn't have to look out for his little cousins now, and he's thankful that he can choose when to hang out with his friends. He realizes he couldn't handle having all of those siblings, and maybe he also learns about himself. My motives weren't right. You could take this in some different directions here, but the basics of it is you don't like what you have. You get something you think is better You realize you were wrong and you change it back. So that's why this is called, why I call it the we were wrong structure. And just like in these samples, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have multiple characters wanting something. But character wants something different. And then they realize they were wrong. I think that pretty much covers it. I'm just going to read the basic structure again. So 1, we want better than A. 2, replace A with B. 3, A is better. And 4, replace B with A. And with that said, I think it's safe to say, case closed. Thank you for listening. We'll be back with another episode next Monday. Sorry for the delay. I should just say I'll have another one next week. Weekends and Monday haven't been going too fast. So with the podcast. Anyway, I'll get it out next week for sure. Next Tuesday. Have a great week. Check out joshpaulson.com and you can subscribe to a newsletter to get free notes from the podcast. That's the only way that you'll get them, and that is the truth. So have a fantastic week and let me know if there's a particular TV show you would like me to investigate. Take care.